1964, two average American men discovered that heavier shoes brought discomfort to athletes and changed the world forever. And you might be wondering, how did Nike become the John Wick of genius branding?
No matter what language you speak, Nike is valued at more than $130 billion as of June 2019.
It's the largest athletic shoe and apparel company on the planet.
Nike, it's one of the biggest and most well-known brands in the entire world.
With sales topping $30 billion last year alone.
I am TheMondli, and join me on this dark, daunting journey of how Nike became the John Wick of genius branding. Out of all principles of branding, 3 stood out for me. The very first being the relationship with a highly respected celebrity. Signing a professional basketball icon was no child's play for Nike, who developed a John Wick mentality, one of focus, discipline, and sheer will. Michael Jordan was drafted as the number 3 draft pick for the Chicago Bulls in 1984, wanted to smash barriers at his craft nobody ever thought of. Nike was determined to develop an intimate relationship with sports fanatics and book readers like you and I, so that they could rake massive profits to become a driving force among athletes. When you connect these two parties together, both these goals align, and Nike were closer to signing Jordan as their ambassador. And here he is, speaking
in the beginning, it could have been Adidas, not Nike.
Yeah.
Tell me how that went down. What was going on in your head?
You know what? The thing is, I never wore Nike shoes until I signed a Nike contract. All through college, we wore Converse, and up to that point, my favorite shoe was an Adidas shoe. You know, and at the time that everybody was starting recruiting me about what shoes to wear, I was pro Adidas.
Nike, a small fish in the pond, were warned by the media against challenging Converse, who had a tight grip on the NBA's best performing athletes, such as Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and the MVP that year, Larry Bird. Converse made a huge long-term mistake in not signing Michael Jordan because they believed that he would never be profitable for their brand. Nike identified how promising Michael Jordan's career was and thought that the stars would align with him until Adidas joined the war for his signature.
If you didn't go with Nike and Adidas got you, how would that change both you and how would that change Adidas and Nike?
Well, it's hard to say that what if should never be in the dictionary because you never see the flip side of that. I think the thing that would have been consistent would have been that my play would have dictated, everything off the court. I don't think the shoes would have changed my whole outlook in terms of how I played the game. But I think I could have enhanced the shoe as in terms of how it would have been marketed. So I mean, would the brand still be as strong if it was an Adidas brand? We'll never know, because a lot of it transcended what was happening on the basketball court to the marketing aspect. All my other marketing, from McDonald's to Coke, all that came in, behind all the way I was playing the game of basketball. So Adidas could have pulled off all that as much as Nike, So I don't know, but the good thing about it is I'm happy where I am. I'm happy with the relationship. I'm happy everything worked out for the best.
Nike's position in the sports world was held by a thread. However, they relentlessly pursued Michael Jordan, who constantly rejected them. In the same way, John Wick, who was beaten to a pulp by Yosef and his gangbangers, walked away from retirement, spoke life into his weapons, resiliently hunted Yosef down and murdered him. And this mentality could separate you, your best friend, and I from outsiders who hold us back from executing our vision. A shadow out of the woods appeared and spoke sense into Michael Jordan. It was his parents who convinced him to sign with Nike instead of Adidas. Time ran against Jordan and Nike, who offered Michael Jordan a lucrative 5-year deal of $2.5 million, a significant percentage of royalties in his name, and additional incentives to encourage him to re-sign after that contract. Adidas had no match, as they immediately surrendered to Nike's uprising after Jordan successfully signed with them. According to a detailed study conducted by Grant Robertson, author of beloved Brands Journal, Nike generated a staggering $167 million in the first year it was sold. This amount alone can insure almost 2,100 houses, each of the average amount of $77,000 in South Africa. However, Nike only made $3 million in sales that year after they sold the Air Jordan 1s, as opposed to Converse, who dominated the market 83 times over. Sadly, Converse's time on top crumbled after they recorded a total revenue of $2.2 billion, as opposed to Nike, who generated over $50 billion recently. As a result, Michael Jordan, who retired from basketball, earns approximately $400 million, setting him and his family for multiple generations. What intrigued me was how harsh Michael Jordan was warned in 1984 from the NBA Board of Directors that he was liable for a hefty $5,000 fine per match if he wore a pair of Air Jordan 1s with the iconic jumper logo at the back of the shoes. However, the fine he paid per match drew animosity among basketball fans and the media because the Air Jordans were not white as required by the NBA. Nike could have backed away from Michael Jordan and the contract to protect his reputation from mass destruction, or they could have aimlessly complained that the NBA was too irrational. Nonetheless, Nike took advantage of the heated moment and did what no other company would do in unprecedented times. They created an ad guaranteeing people your age at that time that if they would have felt regretful of not buying Air Jordans, and there was no possible way of getting respect they deserved from outsiders in society. And the response to the consumers was outrageous. Many dared living without owning a pair of Jordans because they wanted to be like Michael Jordan and slam dunk on the court effortlessly. From there, Nike struck gold with Michael Jordan and found the winning formula. They recognized that young people were corrupted by peer pressure, bullying, and lack of creative freedom, and still took advantage of that. Just like how Vigo built tension with his son Joseph on the type of man John Wick was, in the same way Nike sold us all about the initiative that if you want something, then you must go get it. Why should you care about what other people feel? Would that not make you feel like a loser of a person? Does that mean that you'll never go far in life? If you want the answer to these questions, I encourage you to subscribe to my channel right now, because this next chapter is darker than what the eye sees. Another factor that connects to the previous chapter is that Nike sells emotion, not the product. Nike understood this faster than any of their competitors over the past 50 years, and sadly, nobody from their circle pays attention to this except successful content creators of my caliber. The more emotion you evoke through your marketing approach, the stronger your brand becomes. Remember how in John Wick, how stunned Vigo was after he found out that his son Yosef and gangbangers stole John Wick's car and killed his dog. This alone sold us the emotion of tension, fear, and doubt. And immediately, you and your best friend identified with Vigo. You knew from his response that John Wick was a monster among men. Ted Bundy, the Boston Strangler, and Jeffrey Dahmer all had nothing on John Wick. Once a man wounded by his past became nothing but a resilient destroyer of worlds. In the same way, Nike doubled down only on what was in their control. But the question is, where had it begun? If we rewind the cassette back by 20 odd years in this hyperbolic time chamber, you would have realized how much ground Nike covered to conquer the summit against their arch rivals. And if your memory did not serve you right, you would have noticed in my intro that I spoke about two valiant men, Phil Knight and Bill Bowerman, both who pursued a glorious path to create lighter, comfortable, and more affordable shoes for athletes. Phil, who graduated from the University of Oregon, was intrigued by a shoe called Tiger after he backpacked in Japan. After a draining business pitch with the investors from Tiger, they were left with one startling question for Phil Knight. What is the name of your company? He was stuck, and his head spun him into insanity. At least, that was what many below my caliber wanted you and your best friend to believe about the story. A strong image of a blue ribbon evoked a response from Phil, and he named the brand Blue Ribbon Sports. Adding on, Knight had an initial investment of $1,000, which he and his business partner Bowerman split 50-50. Topping this off, more heavy industrialized companies introduced synthetic rubber as part of footwear. Men identified the significance of synthetic rubber and added the material in Blue Ribbon Sports. 7 years after they began, both men generated adequate profit that sustained their families. However, both believed that their brand was worthy of global recognition since their customers were not only in love with the footwear, but with the unforgettable experiences they created while wearing them. As a result, Blue Ribbon Sports became a Twitter hashtag, and the company was renamed Nike, who was named after the winged goddess of victory. Until you get to learn the third and final part of what makes Nike a genius brand. Controversy. Here's a story of how Nike turns controversy into a buttload of cash that makes them one of the companies that uphold genius branding.
Nike is one of the most recognized and reputable brands in the world. So it's no wonder the world reacted when the brand released a controversial ad featuring NFL free agent Colin Kaepernick.
So don't ask if your dreams are crazy. Ask if they're crazy enough.
But it's not the first time Nike waded into controversial territory with its ads. Here's how Nike learned from its past to turn an emotional national conversation into dollars. Kaepernick is known for sparking a movement within the NFL after he took a knee during the national anthem at a 2016 game to protest oppression and police brutality in America.
I'll continue to sit. I'm going to continue to stand with the people that are being oppressed.
And of course, President Trump leading.
To say, get that son of a off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
At one point in 2017, more than 200 NFL players knelt, sat, or raised their fists during the anthem. Kaepernick opted out of his contract with the San Francisco 49ers in 2017, but since becoming a free agent, Kaepernick has not been signed by another team. He claims that the NFL owners colluded against him to ruin his career. He's been since working as an activist, reportedly donating over $1 million to charity. The internet went into an uproar when Kaepernick posted a Nike ad on Twitter with the words, "Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything."
Trilogy. At least now you understand how the world works around you and why Nike is the John Wick of genius branding. Although there's so much I would like to provide at this time, but I feel that this is the only way you'll have to understand the basics and everything around what makes Nike a staple in the sports industry. Until then, everyone, I am TheMondli, and this is goodbye.